disintegrated, demolished all of this land. So again, I say we stay in love, and we keep doing what we're supposed to do, no matter what, right? Okay. Now, above us, there is what we hope to be a resource center. People come, kids come, the Wi-Fi. We just had a young lady that was up here using her computer. She was in France, did some studying there. She's back now getting ready to get her Jewish doctorate. So Reverend Ben Hill, a great man of God, such as Pastor Mays, and we keep doing things that are educational, affordable housing. The man that started this facility, this was the first Head Start in all of Tulsa for any race, creed, color, anything. This was the first Head Start. Reverend Ben H. Hill. Then he, being a state legislator, because I got it wrong last time. State representative, because I said congressman, that was way wrong. Okay, so state legislator, and then affordable housing. And my father, an AME pastor, helped him to make sure that whomever needed that affordable housing was available to them. And we did the right thing. Quilt by mothers and fathers, and you see all kinds of names of people that are survivors or just historic persons here, okay? So this is the new part of the house. If you all would please come with me, I got a little bit more to show you, and I know that you all on time constraints, so Renee, you might tell them that OW Girlie was a member of this church. OW Girlie was a member of this church. Okay. All right. Someone asked me how did I come up with this, and so, let me show you this red. Anywhere that you see this red, this is the original part of the church. So again, 21 churches, 30 restaurants, all kinds of grocery stores, law firms, restaurants, everything demolished. What you're getting ready to step onto is the original structure.
Unlock those doors. Unlock it so they can go out those doors. Unlock it.
All the way. This is good even in 1921, and this is called what we call the basement. So it's kind of been named that. Okay. So now everywhere that you see red, and so I say it's the blood of the people crying out. I don't know why it's red or whatever, but I just noticed that. So now the story is getting out, and lovely people are coming to hear the story and to rectify some things. Quickly, gentlemen, we got some people that came here, and they've been doing some great things. And so at one time, the men's bathroom was hot pink, and now it's a lovely gray. And the men are going, cool, cool, cool. And then this ladies' bathroom has been redone, and it's wonderful. It's lovely in here. I kind of say all that because a pristine and a premier architectural firm, if you're coming here with me, a pristine and a premier architectural firm came as people are beginning to be gracious to us and to help us to refurbish. So there were 3 stalls, besides the lovely gray now. There were 3 stalls, and now we're at 5. This pristine architectural firm came, and we were doing some plumbing. They said, we smell smoke, we smell fire, so we called out PSO, electrical companies, all of that kind of stuff. When they got here and did their investigations, they were still the pristine architectural firm that we thought they were. But for the first time in 100 years, this earth had been unhoused. And they smelled smoke, and they smelled fire. And it was from 100 years ago. When you smell these bricks that they got from the lady, you can smell the smoke and the fire for the first time in 100 years. And so now, the same firm that thought they were coming in to just do some, some refurbishing, they said, has there ever been a fire in this building? We said, well, why do you ask that? So this was kind of before, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but they said, this type of a material with this kind of indentation is indicative of intense fire, intense heat. This was like 2 years ago. The story had not even been told to them. This is called spalling, and only an intense fire can do this. Now, Representative is going to help me with this part of the story because this is from Oklahoma.
Move this chair out of your way so you guys can move it around.
Mass graves, bodies on top.
So, for 100 years, right, there was a commission study done in 2000, and basically it was a report from Oklahoma legislature that said, what do we need to do in terms of redressing the race massacre? They said, can we find the bodies, right? If there's some 300 dead, and we have our ancestors and those who were victims of the fire, we know oral stories that they were dumped in the river. We know that they were incinerated. We know that they lay on the grounds and bled to death. There was A.C. Jackson, who was a doctor, who was known as one of the foremost surgeons in America, Negro surgeons by the Mayo brothers, right? Actually, they told him to come out of his house with his hands up and we won't hurt you. He came out with his hands up and they shot him. And he bled to death, right? And as we talk about finding these bodies and where folks are buried, there was Mayor Bynum tried to initiate another excavation. So we sent on a public oversight committee. Unfortunately, it's not been as successful as we would like. So this is some of the soil, but right now we have not found any of the actual bodies or remains as has been discussed. It is a challenging effort, and certainly 20 years ago there was an effort to unearth these bodies, and politics stopped it. I was there then. We go out again, we try to do it again, and we still have not dug where we've been asking, let's dig here, because oral history tells us.
So there's a place that would make sense.
Yes. So, you know.
But it's
So,
my,
yeah.
oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay, but it's my understanding, I'm a member here and a trustee here, and I've been really on the very end of Greenwood. She knows about it. It's my understanding that this church, let's stay in love, and but we're going to keep it real, that this church was not touched because it was thought to be a white church. And so it's still there. And so one of the members of the choir, over which I'm the music pastor, he is named after an ancestor. Someone got to his family and said, get to the river. They found his body. This is during 1921. And he was placed on a train and sent north to family so that family could have closure and healing. And that, I do know that for a fact, that person is named after one of the bodies that was found from 1921. Really quickly, a history of O.W. Gurley, a member here, who was under Grover Cleveland, President Grover Cleveland. All right, this is kind of our presidential lineage. Okay, and then Ben Hill and his wife, really quickly, then we came to church, or the story is that we came to church, limousines out front. His wife's birthday, Clinton. Oh, excuse me? Carter was that. So they were very good friends. So again, this love thing, right? Regardless. Okay.
But also the families raised each other. So as children, their mothers raised each other.
And so there's children. And so let me tell you this really quickly, and I'll keep going. And so our mindset as we're keeping in love and raising people up, because I said I didn't know the relationship, because, you know, I'm a little bit younger and stuff. So I didn't know. I said, well, maybe she babysit the children. So somebody was so offended by that, right? I was partially right. She did help babysit them. But guess what? He helped babysit them too. Carter helped babysit them. They had that kind of equal relationship. Okay, here we go. We can go a little further. So, this was Burton Chapel in 1905. In 1908, it was renamed Vernon because of
Dr. William T. Vernon.
who was after William Tecumseh Sherman, and the 40 acres and a mule, and then the Abraham Lincoln silliness with John Wilkes Booth or whatever, and the 40 acres and a mule went away, but some people still loved William Tecumseh Sherman, and so they named their son William Tecumseh Vernon. He became a great man in U.S. history with a treasury, and there's some money with his name on it.
Secretary of Treasury.
Secretary
appointed by
of
Roosevelt.
Treasury under Roosevelt. And so this was renamed Vernon after him. Okay. We talked about our Cherokee brothers and sisters, and we talked about Dr. Benjamin Rush of European Persuasion.
Those are
that
some of the
worked
old
together.
flyers.
Our Jewish brothers and sisters.
Post 21.
Juxtapose this picture for us. This was a type of wealth.
So this is before
Mhm.
the massacre.
Yes, sir. This is before the massacre. And they juxtapose this picture. It's my understanding that when you talk about our Jewish brothers and sisters, and you think of money, and you think of wealth and all that wonderful stuff, but here, there's a place down on, called the Greenwood Rising. In 1921, sir, I would not have been able to go to Greenwood Rising, because it's across Archer. If we went across Archer, you babysat, you cooked, you cleaned, you did whatever. The good news about that is that, but on this side of Archer, within this 36-block radius, anything that you needed, you could find. She spoke of the great surgeon. We talked about 600 businesses, 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, movie theaters, okay, I'll save that part, a hospital, a bank, a post office, law offices, schools, libraries, all of that you could find right here.
The significance is,
So, okay, and so of the millionaires,
no, that's what was lost. Turn around.
In the early 1920s, there
Yes.
were pilots and
The-
aviation service.
they had their own. And so the dollar turned over a minimum of 19 times and a possible maximum of 38 times.
Yeah.
That formula unheard of even today. And so the great wealth, 6 of those millionaires had their own private planes. And so that's why we had so many, the wealthiest black community, period.
Okay, to keep the secretary on his schedule, we're gonna come to this room here. Then we'll come back to that
Come
one.
back there, okay. 100-year-old chair, sir, that you found.
Yeah.
And the wailing bit for the ladies to cry out and pray. These are microphones from 1921, and doing last year, the 100-year commemoration, we had a thing called No More Tears, and so people came just to talk about it and to express, no matter what race, creed, or color, we let them talk about it. This is a desk from Martin Luther King, and then the George Floyd debacle, and his family wanted that exact desk, to keep, perpetuate everything, and so this is
Duplicate copy.
a duplicate copy of that exact thing, so that we could, keep catapulting forward progression. Right here, Greenwood, Archer, and Pine, there's a famous band called the Gap Band. And so, there's a studio here called the Leon Russell Studio. And Gap Band was a part of that. And one of their friends came here, and there was only this one particular organ. This was in shambles, and these same people helped us to rebuild this. And we keep this because not only Leon Russell, not only the Gap Band, but their friend Elvis Presley played on this organ. And so we keep this as a memento. Okay.
Secretary, you might be able to test one of these 100-year-old chairs. I don't think it would hold me up, but these are some of the chairs that were saved from the fire from this church and a couple of other churches. Those,
They would have been here in the basement at the time?
yes, sir, they were for these rooms here.
And
Yes,
is
sir.
it known that people took refuge here?
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that actual room where they actually took refuge. There's a
You want me to show the book first and then
there-
go in
yeah.
here? So I'm going to show you one thing, and this is,
next
here.
room.
This is the book that we're so honored that the Smithsonian would like to have, but we're going to keep it. Now, there is a rock that from the original foundation, like I showed you all some bricks, and it is in the History of Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. But this book, quickly I'll show you, is when those chairs, they were sitting there and having church service, and it burned down in some kind of a way. They saved those chairs, and then after I tell you about this other room, they came out and were still researching how they did what they did, but you'll see some chart pages, and this is from age, but you'll see that Mother Sally gave 25 cents, Uncle John gave 15 cents, so-and-so gave $1, and they began to rebuild this church. And so someone recorded it. And really quickly, a family from Washington, D.C., California, and Chicago met here last year, and security was tight, and we ran all over the church to find their family's name because security wouldn't let them in. So they said, well, Miss Renee, there's this family here, and their grandfather said they have to get it here. So they said, well, my grandfather and my grandmother, they lived at 419 North Elgin. And guess what? We opened this book, and it turned to 419 North Elgin. So here's the money that these people, 15 cents, dimes, quarters, and they begin to rebuild the church. Here are survivors, all right here. And this gentleman right here, there are three, sir, you know. 108, 106, and 101. And I have a family member that just passed away, about 101 years old. And I'll tell you about that story if we have time. Okay. As we're walking back here, I'm going to show you a room. My family member came home, his daddy came home and snatched he and the mother and said, you cannot raise your head today. You lay down in the back of this truck, don't you say a peep. This is a family member that just passed away.
Time talking to her.
So they thought that they laid him gently in the truck. He was
Y'all
about
come up
4 or
this
5
way.
years
Renee,
old,
Renee,
and they
come
put
up.
him in the back of the church,
Renee,
back of
this
the
way.
truck, and he bled. He bled. And so he remembers it just like it was yesterday. Cried every day. This is the room where if he had been able to, instead of being thrown in the back of the truck, but this is where people ran. They said, get to Vernon. It's still standing. All of this is original. All of this is original. That cement thing that I showed you, that has this falling on it, this one has not been painted. So if you can see this, and it's got that same indentation and the chars.
This is the pride of, if there is such a thing, of the massacre, because this is the only place you can actually touch and see. It was because of the double walled brick that they said up to 200 to 300 people crowded in here and were saved from the massacre. And their plans were to convert that to the surrendering of a museum. But I opted, why would you dare take away the authenticity of the only lasting relic of what happened? So we have decided to keep it in its original state. So you can come. And so that's one of the things that
So the whole block would have been on fire,
it was, 36 blocks.
but this structure, because of the way it was built,
Right.
it was
And you'll see a picture of the front of the church, what remained in 1921, and how in 1922 they were building onto it. They built onto these very same braces, these very same, a heat hot enough to melt this cast iron, but they hid behind it by the grace of God, just like the Hebrew boys in the fire furnace, they were saved. So this church is actually 2 years older than the state of Oklahoma. This building was built in 1914, 7 years prior to the massacre. And just as recently as 3 weeks ago, the judge dismissed Vernon Church from the lawsuit to say that Vernon did not exist prior to the race massacre. And her ruling was based on the fact that Vernon was incorporated in 1925 because of the law of the land. But it's the same church, same membership, same administration, same parent body. And my argument to the judge is the fact that she got married, her name changed, but because her name changed didn't mean she didn't exist before she got married. So putting INC on the back of this church did not, take away it being the only surviving structure. And so we are thankful not only for the history, but for being able to be a change agent even today. This church has not missed one day feeding whoever came to that door since March 17, 2020, from the pandemic, over 600,000 people. And so we are thankful for people like Representative Goodwin and others who are sowing into us and making it feasible and possible for us. Our biggest budgeted item is our feeding ministry. In black and white, we can't figure out how it's done, but only by the grace of God, we have been able to do over 600,000 meals, not missing one day. And beyond that, we've not had one COVID incident based on those doors being open all those days. Some of us have been exposed to it, some of us have had it, but not in the church. And we feed the homeless and we minister to them every day. And so we have bigger plans, things we want to do as the areas open back up and we're able to recapture, not for the sake of saying what on what happened. And Miss Polly came, and she was wonderful and did a great job being your ambassador. And I'm so thankful that you came. And so we're looking for the next run for things to be different in South Carolina. And so I just appreciate what you stand for. And we are humbled and gracious that you've taken time to come out and be with us. And I know you're on a schedule, but as you go out the front door, it's important you see these pictures and you can see how it actually happened. And so we're thankful. And if anybody wants to touch or get pictures next to this, I think you, like I said, Greenwood Rising is awesome. The Cultural Center is wonderful, but you can't get this. This is actually it. So
Our friends from the Tulsa Historical Society gave us the pictures that Pastor is talking about of the ruins and the fire that was raging, but these brick walls saving the lives. And so again, he was talking about that we were going to make this a museum, but no, we're going to keep this original as it is, because this was the grace of God saving some lives, and we believe that. So I'd like to show you if you care to see the picture.
Thank you for sharing this.
bless you. Thank you all for coming. Bless you. Bless you.
All kind of people were out there commemorating and we think we had 2 prayer walls in all of the world. One dedicated in Jerusalem and the one in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's a prayer wall for racial reconciliation and healing, staying in love with each other. Here's that picture. The prayer wall is just over there, and then that's what was for the farm to raise. So, right, this part right here, all of this is where you just came from. So all of this was going on outside. And we don't know why or how that unless I was showing you, remember, from there down, and then those 25 cents, those nickels, those quarters, and they began to rebuild. And that was that. And then by 1922, we were here. And then continued goodness and whatever else was going on. And then we built on top. And then one more really quick story with the IDL, that freeway right there, with the train track back there, and the assault on this old church. Every day, a Scottish stained glass master came, heard the story, and wanted to help. Lovely, lovely people started giving money to the tune of $3 million. When the Scottish stained glass master came, he was aghast. The blood drained from his face. He didn't know how any given moment those windows had not fallen on a parishioner's head. It was rotted wood, an old building, the assault, every day, that place and that place. But anyway, again, to the tune of $3 million, we now have pristine, premier stained glass windows. And so they donated this one to the tune of about $75,000. And so you see that light shining down on the children, and that playground that was once the children. God loves children. We all got to be children under Him. And that is now where the prayer wall and the wall for racial reconciliation and healing is now housed over there, where that is, where the light is shining down on the children. It was once their playground. So now we have that. And if you would go upstairs, then you would see the balcony that he was talking about, because we don't forget from whence we came and how it started. You know, and how, again, we came from the balcony down to pray for equality with everybody. And we have now moved forward to where we are today, but we don't forget from which we came. And so really quickly, then I'll let it go. We'll say, don't let nobody turn you around, turn you around, turn you around. We ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, keep on loving. I'm gonna keep on praying. And we're gonna get this thing together until we have equality, which means victory for all of us. God bless you all. We're so honored that you are here.
Thanks so
Okay.
much.
Yes, sir.
That's very nice.
So pleasure, sir. Okay. Thank you, God.